This is Alex from ONG Tax and Accounting Services. So the U.S. tax system and the tax code is very complicated, and especially when it comes to cross-border taxation and international taxes, talking about inbound transactions and outbound transactions can be very complicated. So a lot of the time when foreign owners form U.S. companies and LLCs, they have a lot of questions. Some taxpayers or foreigners or foreign persons are able to get answers to their questions by paying for consultation and talking to attorneys and CPAs. Others resort to Google and other research platforms to see if they can get accurate answers to their questions. Now, the newest kid on the block when it comes to research is ChatGPT. Without doubt, ChatGPT has become social media's latest favorite tool for getting answers online. I must tell you, the chatbot from the ChatGPT is very amazing. It's creative. But one thing you have to realize is that it can be totally wrong and dangerous. So if you're researching tax questions on ChatGPT, my advice is to always run it through a CPA or an attorney to verify the answers that you've received from GPT, because a lot of my clients or a lot of people that contact me uses ChatGPT and then call me up to verify the information they're getting from ChatGPT. So in this video, we're going to go to ChatGPT. We're going to type some few questions about LLC tax and compliance obligations as it relates to foreign owners. We're going to type in some few questions and see whether the answers that ChatGPT is generating is reliable. And basically, at the end of the video, you should determine for yourself whether ChatGPT should be used for research when it comes to taxes or not. So let's go straight into it. Now, to go into ChatGPT, you will type in OpenAI. So when you are in OpenAI, it brings you to this screen, and then you click on ChatGPT, and then you go to Try Chat. Now, because I've already signed in, it brings me directly to this page. But if you want to see how it looks like, first I can log out. So when you see this screen, you can either sign up or you can log in. Because I have registered, I can easily log in here. Okay, so it's going to ask me to check this stuff. So I just logged in. Here's the ChatGPT. This is a chatbot. When you're here, it tells you what the ChatGPT can do and some of the things you should be very cautious about. So, for example, it tells you that it may occasionally generate incorrect information. So that's something you need to be careful about. But hey, I have tried this. I think it's amazing the way it responds to questions and how it answers the questions and the grammar and everything. I think it's amazing. However, when it comes to technical stuff like taxes, you got to be very careful when you're using this. All right, so let's see some of the common questions that foreign owners of U.S. single member LLCs would ask. I think I got an idea. So many would like to ask me, what is my tax and reporting obligation as a foreign owner of U.S. single member LLC? Okay, and then I put a question here. All right, let's see. So as you can see from the screen, the chatbot is generating the answers. Let's see what answers we get from here. Okay, so let's read the first sentence here. So it says, as a foreign owner of a U.S. single member LLC, you're required to file and pay taxes on any income earned by the LLC that is considered to be effectively connected with the U.S. trade or business, ECI. This is correct. If you have an effectively connected income with the U.S. trade or business, that requires you to file a tax return. Now, the big question is, what is an effectively connected trade or business? Maybe we can ask ChatGPT about it and it will tell us more. But for now, it says if you have ECI, then you are required to file tax return. And that's accurate. If you have an ECI, whether you come from a treaty country or you come from a non-treaty country, you still have to file a 1040 NR. And on the 1040 now, if you are from a treaty country, if you determine that your business does not have any permanent establishment here in the US, you can actually invoke the treaty by using the Form 8833 to invoke the treaty and then basically wipe out any taxes that you owe. If you're not from a treaty country, then you will be paying taxes. So you need to figure out what your expenses and income is, and then you pay the required taxes that is due. All right, let's move on to the second sentence here. So it's summarizing that this means that if the LLC is conducting business and earning income within the U.S. federal income tax and must file Form 1040 NR. So that's the same thing we talked about. However, this statement here, sometimes this confuses a lot of foreigners. What does it mean to be conducting business in the U.S.? So this effectively connected with U.S. trade or business, and then conducting business and earning income within the U.S., it's subject to interpretation. So if you're reading this and you don't know what factors causes an LLC to be considered as conducting business in the U.S., you need to seek some advice from an attorney or a CPA to help you. But we've done a lot of videos and we've given you factors that count as conducting trade or business. So there's a lot of videos you can also watch, but most of the time we would advise you to seek the help of a competent professional to understand some of these terms. So here, ChatGPT really does a good job laying them out for you. It also says that you also must file Form 5472. That we all know that if the LLC has a reportable transaction with related parties, it must file Form 5472. Additionally, you may be subject to state and local taxes depending on the location of the LLC's business operation. So it's not just based on location, it's also based on the activities that the LLC is doing in the state, and then also the income that the LLC is generating within the state. So for example, some states have sales tax, use tax, income tax. All of this type of taxes have threshold assigned to it. So if you meet certain threshold, you may be required to file some of these taxes, whether it's sales tax, use tax, income tax, or franchise tax. We have 50 states in the union, so you have to really dig deep to see what kind of taxes that you're liable for when it comes to the state and local taxes. But here it looks like ChatGPT is giving you a summary of the things that you need to do. So this kind of gives you the first step on what to do. Now you know, you have a broad view of what having an LLC in the US is all about. And this gives you some talking points to talk to an attorney or a CPA when you get to interact with them. And then at the end of the sentence, it tells you that you need to consult with a tax professional. This is also good because then it gives you the way forward. It gives you a disclaimer that even though this is generally summarized, you still need to talk to a tax professional to review your issue. Now let's regenerate more responses and see what we can get. All right, so we're generating our second response here. As you keep generating, it will give you more response. I mean, if you want alternative answers and all of that, you can get more response as you keep generating on the same questions. So here too, it says, as a foreign owner of a U.S. single member LLC, you have tax and reporting obligation to the U.S. government. So that's just prefacing the question. You will be required to file Form 5472 with the IRS each year, as well as Form 1040 NI and Form W-8B. And now this here, I have a problem with it. It says you will be required to file Form 5472 with the IRS each year. This is not entirely correct. This is only correct when you have reportable transaction. If you don't have a reportable transaction, you don't file these forms. So once again, when you're reading these things, you got to be very careful on how you are interpreting these things. Now, let's go to the second one, as well as 1040 NR. Now, on what basis are we filing 1040 NR? So this second response that I'm getting from ChatGPT, I can punch a lot of holes in it. It says to file from 1040 NR. For what reason? You only file 1040 NR when you have U.S. effectively connected income that is connected with a U.S. trade or business. Without more facts, the system cannot tell us to file a 1040 NR. And then you also file 1040 NR when you receive FDAP income, things like investment income, passive income, rental income. Anytime you receive an FDAP income and the proper withholding is not done, then it is up to you to file a 1040 NR to file the proper taxes and pay the proper withholding or the proper taxes that you need to pay. Now, from W8BEN, this is also not correct. From W8BEN for what purpose? Also, we don't file from W8BEN with the IRS. It is usually someone will request for W8BEN from you, and then you complete it, and then you send it to that person before they pay you. So it depends. From W8BEN in this context, we don't know what ChatGPT is telling us to do with from W8BEN. And then let's move on. Says additionally, you may be required to file state taxes depending on the state where the LLC is located. So I like this sentence because it's not using the words with certainty. It's using some permissive languages here, maybe. So that's true. States have threshold. If you, depending on whether you're generating income within that state, or you have assets within that state, or you have employees within that state, or you have contractors within that state, you may be liable for certain type of taxes like use tax, sales tax, franchise tax, and income tax. So I like the fact that it uses a permissive language here, and it makes it easy to know that, okay, it's not really certain, but it says you may. So whenever it uses words like this, you need to consult with an attorney or CPA to see what the best result is going to be for you. And then it ends with consulting with a professional who knows what they are doing. So that is good. So this second response that's being generated by ChatGPT, it's not clear enough if I'm reviewing this as a foreign person, and I got to punch a lot of holes in it as a professional. Now let's move on to the third response. So I'm going to regenerate a third response. What does it say? Okay, and then it always ends with, it's best to consult tax professionals. So that's good. It's good that it tells you that you have to consult with someone. Okay, so let's start. As a foreign owner of U.S. single member LLC, you may be subject to U.S. federal income tax on your share of LLC's income, regardless of whether or not the income is distributed to you. So here, I also like the fact that it says you may. It's using languages that doesn't make it certain that you have to pay taxes, but it says you may. So whenever it says you may, you need to do some soul searching, whether you have a U.S. source FDAP income for which proper withholding was not done, or you have a U.S. effectively connected income to pay taxes on. So whenever it throws out this kind of words, then you need to do some soul searching. So here, I'm not going to punch holes much into this statement. It's fine. And it also says that even if the LLC does not distribute the money to you, you will still be taxed on it. That is accurate. So let's move on. The LLC itself is not taxed on its income. That's correct. The LLC is disregarded, so the LLC itself does not pay taxes. But it is required to file information return to report transactions between the LLC and its foreign owner. So this is the pro forma 1120 and the 5472 we always talk about. And I also like the fact that it says to report transactions. You only report reportable transactions. So this is good. Let's move on. Additionally, if the LLC have any income that is effectively connected with the U.S. trade or business, it may be required to file 1120F. I have a problem with this one. Additionally, if the LLC has any income that is effectively connected, it may be required to file 1120F. This is not correct. On one side, it says that the LLC itself is not taxed on its income. So the LLC have no income tax return to file if it's a single member LLC. The only return it has to file in this scenario here is the information return, which is a pro forma 1120 and the 5472. So this statement here, the LLC does not file 1120F unless the LLC is owned by a foreign corporation. If the LLC is owned by a foreign corporation, the foreign corporation itself will pick up the LLC's income and file 1120F and report the income. And that is also if the LLC is found to have effectively connected income with U.S. trade or business. So if the LLC has income that is effectively connected with U.S. trade or business, and where the LLC is owned by a foreign corporation, then the foreign corporation picks up the income and then file 1120F. But the U.S. LLC itself does not file 1120F. Now let's move on. Additionally, you may also be subject to state and local taxes and reporting requirements. This is true. Once again, it uses words like you may. So this also requires some soul searching and some consultations with CPAs and attorneys to determine whether you have any tax exposure in any state. So this statement is fine. And then it ends with to consult a tax professional. So here, let's get back to this issue again. If the LLC is owned by a person and the LLC is considered to be effectively connected, has an effectively connected income with U.S. trade or business, then that person picks up the LLC income and reports it on 1040 NR. Again, the LLC itself does not file a tax return. As stated earlier, it is the owners that files a tax return. Because the LLC is disregarded, the LLC is pushed aside, and we look at the owners. So if the owner is a foreign corporation, think about 1120F. If the owner is a foreign person, individual, think about 1040 NR. Now, I can generate so many responses to this, but I want to make this video short and just tell you that, look, ChatGPT, I think I'm loving it so far. I'm using it for a lot of research, and I think it's a great tool. However, if you're not a tax person, you're not going to be able to tell the difference between good information and bad information. So it's always good for you, after you get some of this summary, just book a consultation with a CPA or an attorney and run this through them so they can be able to analyze these answers you're getting from ChatGPT and tell you whether they're accurate or not. So I hope this helps you guys. And if you have any questions, please feel free to book an appointment with me. But I love ChatGPT. It's great. I like the way things are formatted, but you have to be very, very careful when using it. Bye for now.